Okay, let's start with a really big idea. What if everything in our universe, and I mean everything from a tiny particle to the biggest star, even the chemistry inside our own bodies, could be described by one single underlying logic, a universal language for reality itself? Now, that sounds like something straight out of science fiction, right? Well, today we're diving into a framework that claims it can do exactly that. So let's just get right to it. Here's the core question. Is it even possible for one system to describe all of physics with, well, near perfect accuracy? It is a huge claim, I know. So let's not just talk about it, let's look at the evidence. We're going to start with the hard data, because this is where things get really interesting. So you can think of every element as having a unique barcode made of light that it gives off. This table here, it compares the barcodes we've actually observed with what this psi lambda framework predicts they should be. And just look at that last column. Seriously, for sodium, calcium, iron, the deviation is zero. Zero. For hydrogen, it's off by a tiny 1/100%. I mean, this isn't just close, this is astonishingly accurate. And that, right there, is our first big takeaway. This thing seems to make predictions at the atomic level with almost unbelievable precision. You know, this wasn't just a lucky guess on a few elements. The source material shows this was tested on 100, that's 100 different atomic lines. And every single time, the predictions held up, with errors so small they're almost non-existent. Which, of course, brings up the next big question. How? How is that even possible? Well, to get how it works, we have to understand the core concept behind psi lambda. It suggests that everything in the universe has a unique, kind of logical identity. So let's unpack what that really means. Okay, so the fundamental piece of this entire system is what the source calls the identity, the psi lambda identity. The best way to picture it is like a universal ID card, a unique, logical fingerprint for absolutely everything that exists. So what's written on this universal ID card? Well, it's a set of key properties. Some of these are going to look really familiar to you, like mass, charge, and spin. But then there are these other new ideas, like a logical ID, a family grouping, a fundamental scale called the logical step, and of course, that unique spectral signature we just saw. And this is where it gets a little bit mind-bending. The theory says that any object, anything at all, can be described perfectly by its own unique mix of these values. So it's not just a list of properties. It's more like a language, a universal alphabet that can be used to spell out the story of reality itself. But of course, any language needs rules, right? It needs grammar. In this framework, the grammar is called the grill, or the grid. And this is where the system gets really, really ambitious, because it claims this grid is what unifies all of physics. Check this out. It takes concepts we thought we understood and completely reframes them. Particle spin, it says that's just a tiny wrinkle, a defect, in a logical field. The arrow of time, that's just a preferred direction in that same field. And gravity, get this. Gravity is just what you get when you add up all those tiny spin defects on a massive scale. All of a sudden, these completely separate laws of physics start to look like they're just different facets of the exact same underlying logic. So how can one law possibly explain all of that? The secret sauce seems to be this idea called coherence. Think of it like a radio signal. Down at the quantum level, the signal is super sharp, super clear. That's high coherence. And that's where we get all the weird quantum effects. But as you zoom out, that signal starts to get a little fuzzy. It dilutes. And that gives us the normal classical world we live in. And then if you zoom all the way out to the cosmic scale, the coherence is practically zero. And what pops out is gravity and the expansion of the universe. It's the same law, just seen at different levels of focus. Okay, so this is a really elegant all-in-one kind of theory. But does it hold up beyond those atomic lines we started with? Is there more proof? Let's take a look. First, let's just remember where we started. 100 atomic lines, all predicted with incredible accuracy. This is the foundation, the bedrock that makes this whole framework credible in the first place. Okay, so now, let's go bigger. And I mean way bigger. Let's look at the cosmic microwave background. That's the leftover heat from the Big Bang itself. We've measured its temperature very precisely. It's 2.725 Kelvin. And unbelievably, the psi lambda framework predicts that exact number with basically zero deviation. The same math works for a tiny atom and for the entire universe. That's incredible. All right, now for something completely different, and maybe the most surprising test of all, biology. Apparently, this framework can calculate a cohesion score between different molecules. So they tested it on vitamin D and calcium, and we all know those two work together for our bones. It predicted a cohesion score of about 0.75, which means a strong positive synergy. A theory of physics is predicting how vitamins work. That just shows you how broad this model claims to be. So what does all of this really point to? It's the sheer scope of it all. We have a single model that seems to work, that stays consistent, from the smallest quantum scales to the largest cosmic ones, and even into the messy, complex world of biology. And all of this, it leads us to a really deep, almost philosophical question. If a system that's built on pure logic can describe our reality this well, then what does that say about reality itself? There's a quote from the source material that just sums it all up perfectly. Rien n'est extérieur à la grille. Tout est degré de cohérence réelle. And what that means is nothing is outside the grid. Everything is a degree of coherence of reality. So that leaves us with one last, really provocative thought to chew on. For thousands of years, we've been trying to figure out the universe. This psi lambda framework suggests that maybe the universe isn't just understandable, maybe it's actually written in a language of pure logic. And if that's true, could it be that we're finally beginning to learn its grammar?